Hi, I'm Chris Lewis, firefighter for the Lakeville Fire Department, and welcome to another edition of On Call. The goal of this program is to educate the citizens of Lakeville about how their all-volunteer fire department trains in response to emergencies. Let's take a look at what's coming up on this edition of On Call. We take a look at why you should get your chimney cleaned out and then talk to a building inspector on how to safely heat your garage. Fire Chief Mike Meyer will inform us about some new equipment LFD is trying out. We answer another viewer's question in Ask the Firefighter. I will have all the latest news happening around the fire department. And we'll wrap things up with Scratch the Fire Dog as he learns how a fire extinguisher gets refilled. Today we're going to talk about home heating and different appliances that people use to heat their houses and garages or workshops. Joining me today is Lakeville Building Inspector Chris Rosivo. Chris, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
All right. What we're going to do is I want to discuss a couple different appliances or products or things that people use to heat their houses and what they should and should not do. And first off, we were going to talk about chimneys and fireplaces. What can you tell us about fireplaces?
Well, there's two different types of fireplaces. You have a space heating appliance and a decorative appliance for a fireplace. Decorative is just that. It's just there for decoration. It's just to temper the air in your space, not for actually heating your house. Okay. A space heating appliance, a space heating fireplace, you can actually use to heat your home in that general area, not to heat your whole home. But
okay. And is there any kind of maintenance or things people should worry about if they're going to choose to use a fireplace, either whether it's decoration or for heating?
Well, you definitely would want to have your fireplace checked at least once a year, or your furnace. Chimneys, if it's a wood burning, is very important that you have your furnace chimney or your fireplace chimney inspected once a year if it's clay or if it's metal. Creosote and stuff builds up inside, can cause a fire, which is a bad thing. So.
Okay. And besides creosote, why else would you want to inspect a fireplace?
We got to make sure you don't have any cracks. As the clay expands, contracts, gets older, it can develop hairline cracks. That clay lining is there to protect your home from fires, and if it cracks, the fires can expand outside that area, and then that's when you get your roof fires, your wall fires, and that's when you guys get involved.
So then what we're going to do here is look at different kind of heaters that people can use in their house, in their garage, in their workshop, what they should worry about and what's okay. So what can you tell us here about these?
Well, we just have two little standard space heating equipment you plug into a wall in case you have an area that is cold. Normally your furnace, your general furnace will take care of heating your house, either forced air boiler, something like that. But these are just here to maybe add a little bit of heat when you can't quite get your house to where you want it to be.
Okay. Is there precautions that we should worry about with these? Is there anything that we shouldn't use these for?
Well, definitely you want to keep clothes and any kind of building around this away. These are made for being left out in the open. If you put something over the top of them, they can cause fires. You definitely, if you're going to use these in a garage type situation, you want to keep them up off the ground 18 inches because of a spark could cause a fire. But in a house, they're all listed for space heating in your home. So.
Okay. But would we use something like this in a garage? Would these even?
They won't do much. It'd be probably just heat you enough for where you're sitting, but it wouldn't do any good to heat the whole garage.
Okay,
no.
So it wouldn't be something I'd leave overnight?
No, definitely not.
Okay, all right. So we're going to move on and look at other kind of heaters. These would be for larger workshops or garages or something like that. You know, we wouldn't put this in a basement or anything.
No, you definitely don't want to use this in a basement.
So what are we looking at here?
Yep, this is a kerosene heater. It puts out a lot of heat in a general area. It looks like this one is an 85,000 BTU. It's a very big heater. It can cause a fire. If you look at the front here, how the paint is actually melted off, this gets really hot. This will actually get red hot. So anything in front of this will burn really easily. It does have a electronic ignition inside. So if you have this on the floor and you have a gas leak or something in your garage, these can cause an explosion and a fire. So you want to be very careful with these.
And then these are something also where you wouldn't leave it and then
definitely don't want to leave these unattended. You definitely want to be by these 100% of the time. And I tell you, if you put these next to your car, the paint will be gone.
Okay. All right. So if you were going to heat your house or your garage, especially your garage or your workspace, and you wanted to install something where you could leave it, you know, we'd be looking at something like this down
something
here,
like
right?
here. This is a four-stair garage heater. It attaches right up at the ceiling. They have these little standoffs 1 inch away from anything combustible. They have a gas line attached to them that you supply a gas to. They have a vent off the back that vents either out the sidewall or through the roof.
Okay. And so you would have to ventilate something like this.
Definitely want these vented outside. You can purchase a ventless garage heater, but they aren't legal in Minnesota.
They are illegal?
No. They're legal in a lot of other places, and you can buy them at a lot of places in Minnesota, but they're not legal to install in Minnesota.
Okay, what if you did want to install something like this? What would be
Well,
the
first thing you'd
procedure?
want to do is either, if you're going to try it yourself, you can definitely do that. We would need a permit. The permit is $44.50, so we try, you know, to keep the prices down.
Okay.
You'd have with that permit would include inspection on the gas line, the venting, and the installation of the heater.
Okay, so this heats up and basically blows hot air all over your garage, your workshop, or whatever, correct?
Yes, it does. Yeah,
All right.
out the front it has a fan in the back that blows heat across the heat exchanger and then to your garage. Yep.
Okay, and now I know in the bay here we have different kinds of heaters. How do these work up here?
These are radiant heaters. What these are is actually the gas is in the tube. If you can see the tube there, the burned gas is in that, and it actually radiates heat down without the use of a fan. It's just a different type of heat is all it is.
Okay, now so do we have to worry about too much heat there? Anything with?
You want to keep everything combustible away from those, and there is in the instructions it'll tell you how far that is.
Okay.
Usually 8 feet away is your best bet.
Okay, so now if we're looking at heating our garages or our workspaces or shops or whatever, and you have these portable kerosene heaters or gas heaters or anything like that, do we need to worry about a carbon monoxide alarm in our garage?
Not in your garage. A carbon monoxide detector detects carbon monoxide. Every time you start your car, you have carbon monoxide.
So that would start
go
going
off every single time. Yeah, so we always suggest to have those within 10 feet of your bedroom where you're sleeping.
All right, Chris, so we've talked about all these different kinds of heaters and areas we can use them in. Is there any kind of new technology, I guess you want to call it, for heating? I've seen wood, pellets, and corn furnaces and stuff like that. Where would you use something like that?
You definitely don't want to use a wood burner or a pellet stove in your garage. They're only listed for inside your home.
Okay.
They're a supplemental heat source. Corn and wood, they are actually a listed appliance. They'll put off 50,000 BTUs, you know, anywhere from 50 on up.
Okay.
They're a good system. I actually have a wood pellet stove of my own, and I really love it. It took the place of a fireplace.
Okay, so is it something that's mounted or permanent or?
Yeah, mine is actually sitting on the floor. You have to follow the manuals. There are a lot of restrictions as far as where you can put them. Non-combustible flooring. You want to make sure you have clearances in the front and the side because they do get hot. It's a burning fire, like a wood burning fireplace.
Okay, all right, perfect. Well, thank you for joining us on the show and going over different ways to heat your house or your shop or your garage or whatever. And I hope people do it the right way and we don't have to go visit them.
All right, thanks, Chris.
Thank you.
McGruff the Crime Dog here to remind motorists to stay safe at the gas pumps. Static electricity-caused fires are extremely rare, but can happen. The primary way to avoid static electricity problem is to stay outside while refueling. The average fill takes less than 2 minutes. Staying outside reduces the risks of static electricity that could discharge at the nozzle and cause a fire. If you must re-enter your vehicle during refueling, be sure to discharge static electricity by touching a metal part of the vehicle, such as the door. Fight static buildup at the pump by staying out of your vehicle.
Hi, Jeffrey Anderson, the engineer from Fire Station 3 here in Lakeville. And our question for asking the firefighter comes from Maggie. Maggie asked how tall our ladder trucks are in the city. Actually, we have 2 ladder trucks in our department. One is a 75-foot telesquirt truck that's housed at Station 4. And we have a 100-foot platform ladder truck and that's housed at Station 1. Our Ladder 4 telesquirt enables firefighters to climb to 75 feet above the ground and has pre-plumbing for water flow from a large diameter nozzle. Our Ladder 1 platform truck carries 2 firefighters 100 feet above the ground and has 2 large diameter nozzles for water flow. Now, just remember that just as important as the height above ground is the ability to reach structures off to the side of, ahead of, or behind the truck. We can place firefighters just above a structure, and they can have access to a ventilated roof. That keeps us from having to climb ground ladders and actually be on the roof itself. And in addition to that, ladder trucks are used for us to perform rescues for individuals that may be trapped or injured on the top of the structures. Thanks, Maggie, for asking the question. I hope that we were able to answer the question. And if you have a question related to the fire department, you can contact us with information on the screen.
Welcome to another edition of Chief's Corner for Lakeville On Call. I'm Mike Meyer, the Lakeville Fire Chief, and I'm here with Captain Scott Bakos. And we're going to talk about our fire helmets. We're doing some demos on different style helmets this year to look at changes that we might have to do. What I have here in front of me is our traditional style helmet that we've been wearing for quite a few years now. Some of the features about the helmet is we have a visor up front for eye protection for the firefighters. It has a pair of goggles on the back for eye protection if we're doing car extrications and such. The other features of it is the firefighters, once they come off probation and are a firefighter, they get a leather shield with their badge number on it. This is, I guess, the traditional style that was developed back in the early 1800s as far as what it looks like. Most of the helmets that you see have a long brim on the back, and that was designed to keep heat and water off the back of the neck of the firefighters. Some of the newer styles that we're looking at, we've kind of laid them out. One other style that we're demoing. If you want to tell us a little bit about that one, Scott?
Similar in design. It's got the same shape to it a little bit. It's got a little bit of a brim off the back that is going to be there to help keep the water off your back. It does have a place to put a leather shield in front. This one does not have it there yet because these are something that we're just trying right now to see how they work and fit. They do have a built-in goggle in the front for eye protection. The nice thing about that is it keeps them protected when you're not using them, which is something we've always had a problem with of when about the time you need them. They're all scratched up or broken or hard to see through because of soot and everything else, but they keep them nice and tucked away and protected. Fit essentially the same way. They have ear protection that goes around your ears, which is a Nomex material, reflective striping, but kind of still along the realm of that traditional helmet that we've always used.
And one thing to note, the fire helmets are designed for 2 purposes: to protect the head of the firefighter so that if something falls, it's going to protect them or they fall. And then also keeps water, and the cloth material actually keeps the heat off them too. So those are the basics of the helmet. Some of the newer helmets that we're looking at, this is more of a European design that firefighters in Europe have been wearing for probably 8-10 years already.
Long time, yeah.
Changes is just, it's different in style looking from what we see in America as far as fire helmets. And it just provides more protection to the firefighters as far as head protection around the sides of the head. What other features do we have on these?
Same thing. It doesn't quite have that traditional flap hanging off the back, but one thing we've found as firefighters, we always talk about fire, and fire is such a small percentage of what we do as firefighters. We do a lot of auto extrication. We find because of the brims hanging out sometimes that the brims tend to like to hit things. If we have to crawl into a car to deal with a patient and stuff, a lot of times you'll find us firefighters wanting to remove our helmet, which in a sense makes it unsafe for us in case there's any jagged metal or anything sticking out that we might get hurt on. So by not having that flap, sometimes it's a benefit, and that's why we're kind of looking at these. Also with us, when we're crawling around on the ground with an air pack on into a fire, that brim kind of tends to hit our air tank that's on our back sometimes, which keeps us restricted from looking up. So that is another advantage to this kind of design that we're finding, that it makes it a little bit easier for maneuverability. But you're right, like you said, it gives you good side impact protection, overall head protection. The other thing we're finding that it's a little more comfortable because it fits more of it's a 3-point harness design that fits your head a little better than a traditional just banded helmet. So it's fitting your head more like a motorcycle helmet or something that's more custom fit to your head. Also has the built-in goggles for protection. So once again, that's a huge benefit of having eye protection, and it also gives an option of a full shield that comes down over your whole face and protects your face from any debris or anything. So.
All right. What other items are, I guess, that we've been looking at as far as the fire department that we may make changes at?
You know, the one thing in the fire service we've found over the last few years is there's a lot of options and things that are starting to change a little bit from the tradition of things. We're not wearing hip boots anymore. We're not wearing long rubber coats anymore. We're finding there's better things out there that protect us better, and there's more options to look at. I know sometimes it's a heartache for the firefighters because the firefighters love traditional firefighting. You'll find that all firefighters love everything about their tradition of firefighting.
Yep.
And so to stay with the look and to go into new things, but we're finding that there's better options to protect us. We're looking at, instead of the traditional rubber boots that we've always been with, we're looking at the option of different leather boots. Advantages is, you know, they're a little more expensive, but they last 3 times longer. They give more comfort, less fatigue factor to the firefighter, and a little bit more stout if they ever step on something, you know, sharp or anything, that it's going to keep, it's got a better penetration factor as far as any sharp objects. Turnout gear, ever since they've gone into a Nomex material, or what we see in turnout gear today, has changed quite a bit. There's so many different options that we can get in materials that it's made out of, the construction, the way it's made, where we want pockets, all kinds of different things. So there's lots of options there. Gloves, there's different materials that gloves are made out of. You can get a standard leather glove that, you know, you can buy at the hardware store that's made out of cow or pig, versus you can get into the high-end fire gloves that are made out of kangaroo skin, which gives you more flexibility, more better for water as far as repellent, stuff like that. So you're not having a stiff glove after they get wet, or they're not shrinking on you and things like that. So there's lots of different things for us to look at.
Yep, and I think like you mentioned the gloves, and the higher the quality of the glove, the longer they're going to last. Anytime that we can maybe spend a little more money on better equipment but get double the life or even triple the life out of it, it's better for us as firefighters and for the taxpayers as far as the cost goes.
Definitely, and right now we look at the initial shock factor of, well, it's more expensive. Is that a route we want to go because of the way things are nowadays with budget and everything? But in the long run, if we can prove that they do last us longer, and that's why we tend to try things for a while before we do a full purchase. If they can last us longer in the long run, it may be a cheaper route to go because of the longevity we get out of them, and once again, bettering our firefighters.
All right, well, thanks, Scott, for being here. And I guess, you know, the main thing to come away from this, these seem like small items to us as far as a fire department, but they're the key to our safety as far as when we're at a fire ground, at a vehicle accident, of protecting our personnel, our firefighters, which is our most valuable asset for the fire department.
Absolutely. Thanks, Chief. I appreciate you having me here today.
Thank you.
Could one of these people start a deadly fire? Careless smoking is the #1 cause of fire fatalities. However, most fires are preventable. So, will one of these people start a deadly fire? It's up to them. You can protect your family and your home from fire. Visit GetYourButtOutside.com. Brought to you by the Minnesota State Fire Chiefs Association and the Minnesota Fair Plan.
Now it's time to highlight some recent news around the fire department. There have been a few changes to some of our full-time employees. The fire investigator and fire inspector can now respond to certain fire calls during their normal working day as part of their job. Previously, the fire inspector would not respond to calls, and the fire investigator would only go to calls that needed to be investigated. During the November 21 City Council meeting, Fire Chief Mike Meyer awarded 3 employees from Lifetime Fitness the Chief's Award of Merit. The employees were alerted to a member that had suffered a sudden cardiac arrest and used an automated external defibrillator to save his life. That person just happened to be Brian Carstensen, LFD's own fire investigator. A special thanks to Tom, Daryl, and Lynn for not only receiving the award, but for saving a member of the fire department. Every year, the Minnesota State Fire Marshal holds a poster contest. Each year, thousands of 4th graders from around the state create a poster related to fire safety. Each elementary school is awarded a winner, and one of those schools is awarded as a district-wide winner. Madison, from Mrs. Duville's class at Orchard Lake Elementary School, was this year's district-wide winner. Congratulations to Madison and all that participated. Congratulations goes out to Brenda Visnevec, Director of Lakeville Liquors, for winning the Minnesota State Fire Chiefs Award for her fundraising efforts to help LFD purchase a fire extinguisher training kit. This is the second year that the City of Lakeville has won the Public Education Award, with our program LFD On Call winning it last year. LFD responded to a few car fires in December, including one on 210th Street and one in the employee parking lot of Mills Fleet Farm. Both car fires appear to have started in the engine compartment, and firefighters quickly extinguished the fires and nobody was injured in either incident. On Wednesday, November 23rd, firefighters were dispatched to a possible vehicle fire at Celebration Church, which is located off Kenyon Avenue, just north of Gander Mountain. When crews arrived, they found a recreational vehicle with smoke coming out of it. Firefighters quickly made entry and found a fire towards the rear of the vehicle. It appears that an electrical malfunction in the unit started a mattress on fire. There were no injuries to report, but the vehicle suffered major damage from smoke and water. Finally, the administration for Lakeville Fire Department is moving from Station 1 up to Lakeville Station 4, near the water treatment facility and the police department. This move will have the administration team more centrally located in the city, and they will be taking over the area formerly occupied by ALF Ambulance Service. And that is the latest news happening around LFD.
Whistle while I work. Whistle while I work. Oh, that's all right. The dogs that can't whistle. Hey, everyone! It is I, Scratch the Fire Dog, because I like to scratch out the fires. Oh, and I'm so excited because today's the day that Dan, the fire extinguisher guy, is coming to the fire station to refill all of our empty extinguishers. And Scratch is going to find out all about the different sizes, what they put inside. Oh, and I'm so excited. Oh, and I think he's here. Let's go this way. Come on, this way. Hey, Dan! Hey, Dan! Oh, hey, here he is, Dan the extinguisher guy. How are you doing today, Dan?
I'm good. How are you, Scratch?
Oh, hey, I'm very excited that you're here today because I have so many questions regarding fire extinguishers, and I understand you are the guy to talk to.
Well, I think I can help you out with that.
Yeah, how many years have you been working on extinguishers?
About 25 years now.
Oh, 25 years? I don't even have a corn that old. Hey, why don't you tell me a little bit of why we have the extinguishers here, Dan?
Well, the reason you have fire extinguishers is to put out fires.
Very good. Straight, simple, and to the point.
But it's a little bit more complicated than that.
Yeah, now, isn't there like several different types of extinguishers? Maybe you could tell us a little bit about the difference in sizes and maybe their uses.
There are a lot of different sizes and shapes and types of different fire extinguishers. Some extinguishers are simple ones like this, and they can be used in businesses and in homes. And basically, everybody should have one fire extinguisher like this, a 5-pound ABC, which...
Yeah, what does ABC stand for?
Basically, that tells you the types of fires it can be used on.
Well, like, now, what kind of type could this be used for?
A is the ordinary combustibles.
Okay.
And B is the flammable and combustible liquids. And then C is the electrical. And those are the most common types.
Very good, very good. Now, why do you have different sizes?
It really depends on the type of occupancy or building that you're in.
Yeah.
Like I said, for your house, a 5-pound ABC on each level is adequate.
Yeah.
But in the garage, you would want a 10-pound ABC.
Oh, cool.
In businesses, normally you'll find 10-pound and 20-pound ABCs.
Yeah.
The confusing thing is, when we say 5-pound ABCs,
yeah,
people lift this and they feel like, wow, that's a lot more than 5 pounds. But the reason for that is because it's 5 pounds of chemical inside the container, and then we have to add in the weight of the container.
Yeah, now what exactly is inside there? Because they're very heavy. Do you have like rocks and things and different things like that?
No, it's actually dry chemical.
Oh, baby food.
Looks just like this. We keep it in this jar just so you can see it.
Oh, so it's not baby food in there?
It's not baby food. You can try some though if you want.
No, I think I'll pass.
It's called monoammonium phosphate.
Okay.
But we just call it ABC dry chemical because monoammonium phosphate is too hard to say.
Yeah, I'm not even gonna try. So you have that inside and that's it?
That's it to start, and then once we put it back together, we pressurize it with nitrogen. And that's what we use to pressurize it so we can get all the chemical out of the container when there's a fire. If we put this in there and don't pressurize it, you have no way of getting the chemical out of the container.
Very good. Now, how often do you replace the chemical inside these extinguishers, and do you check them yearly?
Yes, they get checked every year. Actually, they get checked every month in most facilities by the owner or the occupant of the building.
Sure.
Your fire extinguishers at home should be checked every month. So get the family in the habit of going around and checking every fire extinguisher. That does two things for you. It helps you remember where they are, so when the fire happens, you're ready.
Good.
But it also makes sure that there is adequate pressure and everything's okay with that extinguisher. But in businesses, we go in once a year and we do the annual maintenance. We check the extinguisher, make sure everything's good on it. We check the pressure, we weigh the extinguisher. We check the date of when it was manufactured.
Good.
So we can see when it has to be internally inspected or hydro tested. So there's a lot that goes into it.
Very good. Now, is there anything we missed before you're going to show me how you refill one of these things?
That's about it. One thing I want to mention, not all extinguishers have ABC dry chemical. Some have water, some have foam, some have different powders that are good for metal type fires. Some have carbon dioxide. So there's a lot of different types of extinguishers. But today we're just going to talk about the ABC dry chemical.
Good. Oh, you know what? I forgot to ask you one question. If somebody who lives at a home wants to get one of these extinguishers, you know, for their kitchen garage, where is the best place to go?
What I would recommend is go to a fire extinguisher company. They sell fire extinguishers at a lot of different places.
Yeah.
But the best place to go is normally a fire extinguisher company, just because you get a better, higher quality extinguisher. You do pay a little bit more, but you know that those are the experts and they can give you what you need.
And that's the whole idea, to keep your family safe.
Exactly.
Okay. Oh, I'm sorry.
That's all right, Scratch. You want it to work when you need it. The problem with fire extinguishers is they hang on the wall for 5, 10, 15 years. You never use it, and all of a sudden there's a fire, and if it doesn't work on that day, you're out of luck. So you need to make sure you buy a good one and maintain it properly.
Well, let's see how we fill it up then. Can we head inside your truck there and see how it is done?
Sure, let's go, Scratch.
Here we go. Well, we've now moved into Dan's truck where he's got all of his equipment to refill these extinguishers. Dan, show us how the process works. I'm so excited.
Okay, Scratch. Well, this one's pretty much ready to go.
Yeah. Oh, and we should let everyone know that we have safety glasses because we're safe.
Yes, we have the safety glasses on.
Even Scratch does, yeah.
We always want to wear those when we're working on these.
Absolutely.
Now, I've already cleaned the parts inside here, but this is...
cool. So that's how it gets it off at the bottom. I never knew what was inside it like that.
This is what they call the pickup tube. It picks up the chemical from the bottom of the extinguisher. That's why when someone's using an extinguisher, they always want to hold it upright. You don't want to hold it sideways.
Oh, cool.
Yep. So I'll set this down for right now.
Okay.
I have our chemicals stored. The ABC dry chemical is stored in the hopper. So what I'm going to do is take this hose that comes off the bottom of the hopper, and I'm going to put it in here. And I'm going to open the valve, and then we wait a little while the pressure gauge goes up here, and that's telling me that it's starting to fill.
So the chemical is actually going into the extinguisher now.
That's right, Scratch. It's coming from this yellow hopper here, the one with the yellow lid, and it's going into the extinguisher, and I just watch up here so I know when it's full.
Oh, cool.
There we go. Now it's full. Then I take that off real slow because otherwise we get dust all over.
Very good.
Now, I'm going to take that out of my vise and set it over here on the scale.
Ooh, you got the scale.
And I put these parts on the scale too, just to make sure we're at the proper amount.
Okay.
Yep, it's ready to go. So now, I'm just going to clean the threads like this.
You use a toothbrush?
I use a toothbrush.
Or a thread brush?
I use a toothbrush. And then I have to grab one of these.
An O-ring?
This is actually called a VOS collar.
Oh, I don't like wearing collars.
That means verification of service. And I'm going to punch 12 of 2011 because it's December of 2011. And I put that on. That tells the fire marshal or fire inspector that this has been taken apart and worked on at that time.
Oh, cool. Now, is that difficult to put that back in there? Obviously not. That just kind of slid right in.
Not really. And then the threads, I just tighten this up until it's snug. And then before I pressurize it, I like to tip it upside down just to loosen up that chemical. That way the nitrogen pressure goes in a little bit easier.
Now, how heavy is this one again? Is this the 5 or 10 pounder?
This is a 10-pound extinguisher, but it weighs about 17 pounds overall when it's full.
Okay.
So now I'm putting my adapter on here. And then I'm going to hook up our nitrogen hose
Good.
to the adapter. And then I'm going to turn this black valve, and then I'm going to squeeze down on this handle.
Oh,
Did I scare you?
kind of jumped.
That happens a little bit once in a while. That's why I like to tip it upside down to get some of that chemical loose, because then it's not quite as bad. But it does jump a little bit. That's just cleaning and pushing all that chemical out the pickup tube, and then it spreads out the nitrogen throughout the extinguisher.
Good. Now, you've been doing this, you said, for 20 plus years, but how do you know that you filled it? Is there a little gauge at the top that says full?
We've got this pressure gauge right here. That needle, the yellow needle, always needs to be up in that green operating range. If it's down here in the red, that means it needs to be recharged. If it's up on this side in the red, that means it's overcharged. So it's got to be somewhere in that green area.
Perfect. Now, is this extinguisher all ready to use now, Dan?
It's almost ready. I just need to take that hose off, take the adapter off. Now I put the discharge hose back in place, and I tighten
Don't
that
hit
up.
yourself with that. Have you ever hit yourself with that?
Yes, many times. That's why I wear the safety
That's why we
glasses.
wear the glasses. That's right.
Now I'm going to put the tamper seal through the safety pin,
Okay.
and that just keeps the pin in place. Make sure that the pin doesn't accidentally fall out, and anybody that's walking by, they can see that that tamper seal is there and it hasn't been used at all. And then there's one last thing we do for businesses,
Yeah?
and again, this helps the fire marshal know when it was inspected.
Not another color, is it?
Nope, this one's called the service tag, and I'm punching ABC dry chemical, I'm punching December, and it's recharged.
And we now have a working and approved fire extinguisher.
There we go. We're legal.
Oh, that was some great information I got from Dan, the extinguisher guy, but I don't think my towels are dry, and oh boy, if the chief finds out that I didn't get my work done, he is going to be so unhappy with this dog, so I better turn things on and, well, I'm a little wet, so hey, I might as go for a ride too. So we'll see you next time, everyone, because it is Scratchy the fire dog, because I like to scratch you out of the fires. See you on the backside. See you next time. Goodbye, everybody. Oh! Hey, I'm all ready for my ride. Whoa! 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 Ouch! Ooh! Ouch!
Thanks for joining us for this edition of On Call. If you have comments, questions, an idea for the program, or would like to send a question in for Ask the Firefighter, feel free to call us at 952-985-4700 or use the email address at the bottom of your screen. Thank you for joining us, and all fire units are clear.
All employees at your municipal liquor store have been trained to recognize fake IDs, and when caught with one, the police will get involved. This message provided by your local municipal liquor store.